Hello and welcome to National Focus. I am Shakira Peer. In the headlines, Dominica continues to fight the growing cluster of COVID-19 cases. New over $1 million Soufriere berthing jetty to transform the constituency. And August 9 observed as International Day of Indigenous People. Details of the headline stories and more when we return. Welcome back. Dominica continues the fight against the growing cluster of COVID-19 cases. The current cluster of COVID-19 cases in Dominica is said to be different from previous clusters. A number of people who have tested positive and their contacts are presenting with flu-like symptoms, which makes the virus more contagious. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment continues to update the public on the COVID status and put measures in place to safeguard its citizens. The Dominica Export-Import Agency Dexia has announced the reopening of the Roseau Market on Monday, August 9, 2021 at 8 a.m. The market is set to open on Mondays to Fridays from 8 to 3 for the duration of the curfew period. All farmers are advised to vend their produce during the weekdays. Minister for Trade, Entrepreneurship, Innovation, Business and Export Development, Honorable Ian Douglas, says vending will also be allowed along the Dame Eugenia Charles Boulevard, Bayfront, under the management of Dexia.
All produce should remain aboard vehicles. The agency took the decision to close the Roseau Market due to the rapid increase in COVID-19 positive cases in Dominica and the threat of overcrowding, which could lead to further spread of the virus. Dexia recognizes the importance of the market to the livelihoods of the country's farmers and will reopen under the strictest guidelines to ensure the safety of vendors and patrons. The wearing of masks is mandatory by law and shall be enforced fully. Vendors and customers are further advised that all protocols must be adhered to.
Minister Douglas says in an effort to minimize crowding, vendors are further encouraged to sell their produce at the respective community markets or at individual stalls in their communities. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit also stated a few additional exemptions which were added to general measures provided as of August 3rd.
For lawyers, but they are not to receive clients at the offices. Okay? And people who need to pay their insurance, either for their properties, we're in the hurricane season, or people who have their vehicles that are insured. They can go in and pay their insurance premiums. And people who want to buy spare parts for vehicles. Okay? These are 3 additional exemptions. Now, as from the 3rd of August, we have been in a state of emergency and a curfew. And when you're in a state of emergency and a curfew, it means, therefore, you have a 24-hour curfew. But the law allows for exemption to allow you to go and to carry out certain duties.
Prime Minister Skerrit reiterated some of the measures which were previously established.
If you're traveling out of the country or you're coming into the country, you will be exempted from this. You're seeking medical care, you're shopping for necessities, banking, but by appointment only. So you can only go to the bank if you have an appointment. You're caring for a family member, a pet, or livestock. You have to go and change your goat, or they go and change your cow. You're involved in construction, farming, and manufacturing. You know, you're allowed to carry out your duties and so on. You are essential service. You also have essential service. You're police. You're a fire ambulance person. You're working at the airport, etc., etc. You will be exempt from the impositions because you have to carry out your duties. So every day, from tomorrow to the 17th, every one of us must stay inside from 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. next day. So from 6 p.m. tomorrow to 5 a.m. on Tuesday, you have to stay indoors.
Activities will be allowed on Saturdays up to 1 p.m. with a curfew in effect from 3 p.m. on Saturday to 5 a.m. on Mondays. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment continues to stress the importance of vaccination. Dominica was recently gifted with 12,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccines from the UK government. Prime Minister Skerrit encourages all to get vaccinated. Vaccination reduces the likelihood of contracting and transmitting the virus and also reduces the likelihood of becoming seriously ill if you become infected with the virus.
Let us get the vaccine and so that it places us in a better situation to withstand the coronavirus. You see what I'm saying? So let us go out and take the vaccine and so on. It's not mandatory, and always talk about mandatory. I'm not saying about mandatory vaccination, though we have clear legal advice that the Constitution allows for this to happen, and this is done from legal luminaries outside of Dominica. But I'm not going to get into this. I believe that we all have an obligation to each other. This is a public health emergency, and we have to take a vaccine. We have to take a vaccine. We go then avail ourselves of the vaccine.
To date, Dominica has a total of 179 cases of COVID-19. Contact tracing and testing continues throughout the various communities to include Maho, Mount Prosper, Point Michel, Campbell, Trafalgar, Layu, Portsmouth, Calibishi, Soufriere, and Marigot. Minister for Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, says as many as 84 health professionals have been trained to administer the antigen test and PCR test, which will assist in their contact tracing efforts.
A testing initiative dubbed Know Your Status started on Saturday, 7th August 2021 and continued today, Sunday. This initiative will continue throughout the week on Monday, August 9th to 16th. to ensure that every hospital staff member is tested and cleared so that we can be confident of the safety of our patients, our hospital employees, and their families as well. Further to yesterday's update on the situation, 5 staff members last week returned positive antigen tests. Of the 5, 1 tested PCR positive and is symptomatic and is currently at the COVID isolation unit. The other 4 are in government quarantine. 235 staff members of the hospital were tested on Saturday and Sunday through the initiative, and all have returned negative antigen results.
The Ministry of Health also conducted testing of 3 inmates at the state prison, of which all 3 tests returned negative.
I wish to remind the public that visitation to the state prison is suspended for the duration of the curfew order. As a further precautionary measure, the Ministry of Health will be scheduling testing at the state prison this week for staff as well as inmates. Currently, we have all the resources necessary we need for continued testing of our citizens. The Ministry of Health is in possession of 12,000 PCR tests and 13,000 antigen tests. We expect 12,000 more antigen tests to arrive on Wednesday, August 11th, and another 10,000 by Friday, August 13th. Additionally, 10,000 antigen tests are presently on order.
Prime Minister Skerrit says an antigen test, also known as a rapid test, cannot be included in the COVID statistics even when it is positive.
Anybody who tests positive on an antigen test is subjected to a PCR test. Now, that PCR test will take 1 or 2 days to get back in terms of the results. And so until we get the PCR results back, we cannot put it on the dashboard and say this is our number of cases of in Dominica. Because WHO and the Pan American Health Organization require as a gold standard bearer, the PCR test. So even when somebody contracts COVID-19 and that person is placed into isolation, you're only authorized as a medical practitioner to discharge this person when that person goes through 2 PCR and both of them come back negative within a 24-hour period.
Citizens are reminded to remain vigilant and continue adhering to the COVID-19 protocols. Persons who have been contacts of the individuals who have attended any of the events are advised to get tested. Anyone experiencing flu-like symptoms should call the hotline at 448-2151, 448-2153, 448-2156, 611-4325, or 1-800-219. Transformation of the blue economy is in full effect in the Soufriere constituency. Alia Martin has more in this report.
Transformation of the blue economy is in full effect in the Soufriere constituency. A new Soufriere berthing jetty was commissioned on Friday, August 6, 2021, despite the challenges Dominica is currently facing with a growing cluster of COVID-19 cases. This project made provisions for the docking of vessels up to 50 feet long for emergency situations, and small fishing boats commonly used in the area were also catered for. This will allow for easy offloading of fish catch and use of residents' normal day-to-day activities. Solar lamps for night landing and a water supply line were also key components of this project. Parliamentary representative for the Soufriere constituency, Honorable Dennis Charles, is grateful for the fruition of this project. She says the completion of the berthing jetty is a historic moment for the people of her constituency.
Today we are able to have a brand new resilient jetty in the Soufriere constituency, which I know will last for many, many years. It's unfortunate given the challenges that the entire constituency could not be present for this moment, because I know it means a lot to every constituent, whether you are from Galio, Scotshead or Soufriere. We know how it is after a major disaster. Prime example, Hurricane Maria. The villages of Soufriere, Scotshead and Galio were cut off from the rest of the country. and we had to traverse to Roseau by sea. We also had to bring in supplies to constituents, and it was a bit challenging because we didn't have a jetty, so the boat couldn't come on shore. So people had to line up all in the water to hand over the supplies so we could get to the rest of the constituents.
Minister Charles says the jetty will serve to benefit the constituency in times of disaster. She says the over $1 million spent for this project is well worth it.
We don't have a large crowd gathered today, given the situation in the pandemic, and health and safety remains a priority for this government. But I can tell you, if you look at the hearts of my people, these hearts will be smiling, and they'll be very thankful and grateful to CATS and GIS and the government for partnering to bring this very, very important project to the Soufriere constituency. We finally have our resilient jetty.
Meantime, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit called on residents of the Soufriere constituency to make use of the jetty and find ways to generate economic growth in the communities.
The people here in Soufriere and Scott said, we don't have to come to tell them what they have to do. They're resourceful people, they're people of industry, and they know how to make things happen and how to make turn things into economic opportunities. They're hardworking people, very respectful people, very hospitable people, and I'm sure they'll take advantage of this. And so I'm very happy to be here. Finally, we're here. But you know, the journey was long, but we have to appreciate the end result.
Minister for the Blue and Green Economy, Agriculture and National Food Security, Honorable Fidel Grant, believes the addition of the jetty in the community will assist in improving the livelihoods of residents.
The ministry continues to engage various partners for the development of the blue economy, and we are quite cognizant that the marine communities like yours, most families are dependent on the opportunities and activities in the blue economy. We therefore aim not only to develop the communities, but to improve the sustainability of livelihoods for the fisher folk and the larger community. I urge not only the fisher folk, but the wider community to strive hard to revive the fish night, Koni Konla. This is an excellent tourism product and an economic stimulant to the community and the country.
Acting Chief Fisheries Officer in the Ministry of Blue and Green Economy, Agriculture and National Food Security, Mr. Julian Defoe, says whilst the Soufriere constituency is known for its fisheries component, the ministry has a broader vision for the blue economy.
Fishing is just one component. This area is known to be significantly engaged in water sport activities, diving, which is scuba, snorkeling, kayaking, and in recent times we have had deep diving competitions and tournaments. So all of this is in addition to fishing, and not forgetting famously, because of the area is deep, we do have boats doing even whale watching and dolphin watching in this area. So this jetty will serve a multitude of purposes, the fishers, water sport operators, vessels, and as most importantly, we all know of the vulnerability of the Soufriere-Scorzed area in terms of its vulnerability to extreme weather conditions. The sea, you can see, is very close to the coast. And also, in addition, we have the threats of the volcano. While it is maybe dormant now, but this is an existing threat. So it will also serve as an area to facilitate evacuation if the need arise.
Mr. Defoe says the Soufriere berthing jetty has greater national significance as the development of Dominica is currently being guided under the Climate Resilience Recovery Plan.
2 out of the 6 key resource areas this jetty directly touches on, which is number 1, building strong communities, making them resilient to extreme weather conditions, and I think number 3, which looks at resilient infrastructure. And also I mentioned that there are a number of targets in the CRRP, and for significantly, again, number 2 is a significant one, and number 10 speaks to about economic generation, and this area is known for a lot of economic activities and for us to sustain at least 5% growth in the next 10 years.
Representative for the German Corporation for International Cooperation, GIS, Mr. Volker Hamann, says he is happy to witness the commissioning of the berthing jetty project. He says the process commenced a few years ago on request by the government of Dominica, following the passage of Hurricane Maria in 2017.
it was noted that evacuation of the population could only be done through helicopters. Also, food and other important things could only be delivered through helicopters to Sofia. So a jetty would improve that situation significantly for evacuation and provision of goods in case of emergencies. So this is then when the process started. It was actually a participatory process. So GIS consulted with all the population of Sofia, all the stakeholders, on how the jetty should be designed. And this is then what we have today.
Project Manager of Civil Offshore and Marine Incorporated, Mr. Joseph Flosak, says the project was delivered in a timely manner.
We had very good cooperation from the consultants, the people of the community. We're also pleased that about 50% of the workforce or the skilled labor was from this community. So in all, we are very, very happy that this project has turned out to be, I think it will speak for itself, and that we're very happy that we have a quality product, all locally built for our people. So we are very grateful to be part of this project.
The youth of the Sofia constituency were also cited, showing their appreciation for this project. The berthing jetty is the largest single investment on the German Corporation for International Cooperation, Caribbean Aqua Terrestrial Solutions (GIS) implemented programs. This project will transform the lives of the people of the Sofia constituency as well as the blue economy in Dominica. Alia Martin for the Government Information Service.
Thanks, Alia, for that report. August 9 every year is observed as the International Day of the Indigenous People. This year's theme is leaving no one behind, Indigenous peoples, and the call for a new social contract. Minister for Kalinago Upliftment and Member of Parliament for the Salibia constituency, Honorable Kozia Frederick, highlighted that a social contract is an unwritten agreement that people make to cooperate for social and economic benefits.
During the colonial period, we, the indigenous people of Dominica, like in many countries, were driven from our lands, our culture and language suppressed, and our people marginalized from all political and economic activities. In the end, we were never included in the social contract. Over recent years, however, we have participated in forums and initiatives based on the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, and contributed actively to the advisory bodies such as the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues.
Minister Frederick says the demand around the world today is the indigenous people's inclusion, participation, and approval in the constitution of a system with social and economic benefits for all. He says the Dominica Labour Party government has remained committed to improving the lives of all Kalinagos.
Right here in Dominica, the Kalinago benefit from having the Kalinago Act, reaffirmed that independence, which allows for a Kalinago Council. The government also has a ministry committed to the people's upliftment. To date, our government has approved opportunities to ensure that no one is left behind. We have benefited from all social, economic and social programs and physical infrastructure. We will continue to build on the new social contract articulated in Dynamic Dominica, because it is an expression of cooperation for the social interest of the Kalinago.
The minister says he understands the new social contract and it is one that he is happy to participate in as the minister responsible for Kalinago upliftment.
It is one based on continued open participation and cooperation, one that fosters equal opportunities and respects the rights and dignities and freedoms of my people, one based on free, prior, and informed consent. Our theme may well be, we have left no one behind. Kalinago enjoying the new social contract.
You're watching National Focus. More when we return. Welcome back. $57 million is allocated for the Ministry of Housing for this fiscal year. This proves that government is committed to improving the living and housing standards of citizens. During this fiscal year, government intends to build a total of 785 houses. In addition, government will continue to finance the renovation and the sanitation program. During his budget address, Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, said that funds for the construction of these homes will come from a loan contracted from the World Bank, grant funds from the European Union, and the Citizenship by Investment Program.
The Housing Recovery Project, which will benefit 450 recipients of new homes, will be allocated $6 million. The Home Renovation and Sanitation Project will also continue into the fiscal year at a cost of $4 million, while under the Modern Resilient Housing Project, 245 new homes are expected to be completed within the next 12 months.
Another initiative put in place to address housing in Dominica is the Sustainable Housing Solutions option. This modality utilizes a precast concrete system to construct homes.
To date, quite a few families, 92 families, have benefited. Considering our ambitious efforts to provide housing to our vulnerable people, this option reduces the time for construction of units. I have been advised, Mr. Speaker, that the precast plant here in Dominica is now complete and will substantially increase the number and speed at which we build homes under this particular project. A minimum of 50 homes will be targeted for this fiscal year at an estimated cost of $2 million.
Meanwhile, over the years, government has invested millions for housing in the Salibert constituency. In the last financial year, individual homes were handed over to families and improved the living conditions for many in that part of the island. In this fiscal year, Prime Minister Skerrit says government is committed to the social advancement of the indigenous people.
Over the years, we have implemented a number of initiatives aimed at improving living standards of the Carnago people in the areas of housing, employment, health, education, and small business, to name a few. In this fiscal year, this work will continue. We know, Mr. Speaker, that our Carnago people have had severe housing challenges posed by communal land ownership. This government proposes to continue to provide support to the Carnago people through a number of avenues. We have created funding from the European Union to the Carnago territory. We have directed funding from the European Union to the Carnago territory to construct 50 resilient homes. A total of $10.3 million will be invested in this project, $4.6 million of which will be disbursed during this fiscal year.
Prime Minister Skerrit says government is aware of the difficulty of the Kalinago people to secure loans from financial institutions for investments, given the current legal arrangements which do not permit them to obtain title to land within the territory. Government has therefore established a Kalinago Development Fund to create avenues for Dominica's indigenous people.
In this fiscal year, we have allocated an initial amount of $800,000 towards the establishment of the Kalinago Development Fund. The main objective of the fund is to provide an avenue for the people of the Kalinago territory to access financing for the establishment of small businesses, the construction and renovation of homes and other ventures. It is government's intention to further capitalize this fund and then allow it to operate as a revolving fund. This fund is expected to be an important source of funding for the Kalinago people to access financing to improve their social and economic circumstances. This will be a novel approach to making funding available to the Kalinago people, who have had challenges in providing the title security which banks and credit unions traditionally request as security for loans.
One of the conditions for accessing these loans will be that the fund must be spent on businesses or homes being established or constructed in the Kalinago territory. Member of Parliament for the Roseau South constituency, Honorable Shakira Lokat Hippolyte, says her constituency can boast of many projects undertaken in the 2020-2021 financial year. One of the major projects that was done in that constituency was the new health and wellness facility in Newtown. This project is financed through the Citizenship by Investment program.
Mr. Speaker, no longer will my people of Newtown be in a container, subjected to being a container for medical care, Mr. Speaker. Today I stand very proud as a Harlem girl to inform my constituents that the health center have been completed and will be commissioned very soon, Mr. Speaker.
The Newtown community is also known for fishing. This aspect has brought much economic benefits to the community. The Member of Parliament says she is proud to be able to deliver the upgraded Newtown fish markets.
Every time I talk about the fish market, Mr. Speaker, I remember Dr. Daru, because he has always said to me, but if I was the people from Newtown, I would not vote for you. Because what was there, Mr. Speaker, was an eyesore. It was not a good reflection of the people of Newtown. And today we can boast that the fishermen have an area to sell their fish in a clean environment, Mr. Speaker. And somebody whispered in my ears, you know, Mr. Speaker, that since that facility was built, the fishermen catching more fish.
The development of the youth is also top of the list for the Roseau South MP. Honorable Hippolyte says the first phase of the multi-purpose hard court in Bath Estate is completed, and the young persons from that community will soon be able to engage in several sporting activities.
I am pleased to tell the people of Bath Estate that the second phase will commence in the next few weeks, and the second phase will entail the placing of the acrylic surfacing material on the hard court, fencing and lighting of that multi-purpose court. So works will commence in the few weeks, and that is not, I'm not just speaking, Mr. Anything I say here, I know that it will happen. It must happen, Mr. Speaker. And we have already secured the financing for that.
Honorable Hippolyte reported that several roads in the constituency were rehabilitated to ensure the safety of road users in her constituency.
Several roads in the constituency have been rehabilitated. Let me start with the 4-Hour Road. I want to commend the residents there for their efforts in the rehabilitation of this road. Ms. Anna Girodel and the residents for committing to the task. I ensured that they received the necessary material, Mr. Speaker, and they executed. The Leopoldville entrance road was done by Mr. Kelvin Jack and his team. Job well done. We also saw the rehabilitation of the Wallhouse Main Road and the road leading to the Kings Hill Baptist Church. I want to thank the Minister of Public Works again and his peers for their continued support to us in the Roseau South constituency.
Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, on behalf of the government and people of Dominica, extends condolences to the people of Antigua and Barbuda and the family of Sir Lester Bird, former Prime Minister of Antigua, who passed away on Monday, August 9, 2021. Sir Lester Bird served as the Prime Minister of Antigua from 1994 to 2004. And now your weather update. A high-pressure system is expected to be dominant across the island, resulting in occasional cloudiness and brief showers during the afternoon. By this evening into tonight, an area of low pressure being monitored in the Atlantic for development will begin to affect the island. This system may become a depression on its approach to the islands. Moderate to heavy showers and thunderstorms are expected, particularly across the northern half of the Lesser Antilles, including Dominica, into Tuesday. Projected rainfall is 4 to 6 inches during the period. A flood watch or warning may be required. People in areas prone to flooding, landslides, and falling rocks are to remain on alert. A second disturbance in the central Atlantic with a low chance of development is also being monitored as it moves over the Atlantic. This system is expected to be near the Lesser Antilles by the weekend. Residents are advised to monitor the progress of these systems. Moderate seas are anticipated during the next 24 hours, with waves peaking near 8 feet. A small craft advisory is in effect for above normal seas on the East Coast. Small craft operators and sea bathers should exercise caution. The Dominica Med Service will continue to provide the necessary updates as they become available. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, as well as on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here on the GIS News Production team, I am Shakira Repair. Thanks for watching and stay safe.